Hey guys, welcome to Ask a Senior. Today is actually the first ever code review on this channel. My name is Josip Kovačević and our senior guest for this review is Josip Kovačević. Hi Josip.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. First, I'm glad that I can help you to support your channel. A little bit about myself. As you said, I'm Josip, 32. I'm doing front-end development last 8 years since I got my master's degree in computer science. And yeah, in free time, I like play football. I do a little bit astrophotography, and in free time, I do code reviews.
Nice. I'm glad for that, and thank you that you are our first reviewer. So, should we start right away?
Yes, first of all, also, I'm sorry for the camera angle, because the camera is located on the bottom bezel, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, it looks good. Okay, then I guess we can start with the project.
Of course.
The project that Josip is going to review is called Real Estate, and it's from Mateo Žulj. He is a student of third year informatics from Mostar, and yeah, he is learning programming and software development for the last 3 to 4 years. The technologies that he has been learning are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and also he used for this project Vue.js. Okay, so we can start, Josip.
Yes, let's see what students are doing these days.
Yeah.
So basically this is the GitHub project, and yeah, I already cloned the project. I installed all the node modules or dependencies, and we can check the project, what it does, and just to look a little bit around, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, it is, let's call it small real estate website or application. We have a home page. We have some few places. Section about the agents. And also, yeah, we can go to different page to look for a house. And, yeah, we also have some filters in here. Let's see if those are working. Yeah, something happens.
Yeah, okay, I see.
And what happens if we check on the house? Yeah, we need to log in actually to see the house. I already have an account, so maybe.
Let's just see what happens when we are logged in.
Okay, I'm logged in, but now I'm back to the home page. Now I lost my house, but never mind, we will find new one.
Yeah.
So if we click on this one, okay, it leads us to house details page, and we can see more information about the house, and we can also contact the agent.
Okay, nice.
And yeah, there is some gallery, and we can also check if this is responsive, maybe to some. Okay, this actually looks decent, I would say. If you go to home page, let's maybe try like this. Yeah, we can see some rounding issues, but it looks decent.
Yeah, it looks actually decent on the smartphone. Nice.
Yeah, basically these are the old pages. As I can see, there is no user page. And what happens, let's say, if we go to the house and if we log out, let's see what will happen. Yeah, it returns us to the home page, which is nice.
Okay. Nice. It looks good to me, actually. Yeah. Let's see what is behind this.
Yes. We can now maybe start from the code to see how it actually looks from the backend.
Yeah.
From the backside.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check how the project looks like. The first thing that I'm checking on the project is actually README, and you know this is actually the first thing that you see when you look at the project. And from here we can see that we don't have too much information. It would be nice that this file contains a little bit more information about the project, about tools that is using, about let's say which version of Node.js I need to run it. A little bit more information to help other developers that want to maybe check this project, because now I need to download the project and run it in order to check what it does.
Yeah, it's not really convenient, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially if you, I guess, wanted to make this like a big open source project. The first thing,
Yes.
I mean, if I wanted to see what's happening, if I really need to download everything and see around the code, it's a little bit harder than just to have it all in README file. And yeah, so I understand.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so the second thing that I'm looking at the project is package.json, which is very important file. Okay, I think this needs to be lowercase in order to get rid of the warning. Okay, this is fine. Okay, so it's pretty small file. We are using just few libraries. We have few scripts, and if we check dependencies, we have some font awesome, which is fine. We have Sweet Alert, which uses 3 libraries, which is very odd, but I guess it's okay. We have Slider. We have a Vue Basic Alert. Okay, so basically we are using a few different libraries to do maybe some filtering or showing dialog, or in this case maybe it would be better to use one library, maybe something like Prime View or Element Plus. As you can see, you can check. You can basically find all these modules, let's say dialog. Basically, you can be more consistent with one library, and this library supports tree shaking. So you can use only one component or multiple components. If we check Slider, we also have the slider that we saw previously at the page. And yeah, if we check different libraries, we have Axios, which is basically HTTP client for the browser. We have Lodash. Maybe instead of Lodash, it would be better to use Vue.use, which is more oriented to Vue, but yeah, it's personal preference. We use Pinia for central store, central state, and of course we have Vue and Vue router for routing, and also dev dependencies where we are using Vite and Vue plugin for Vite. Okay. Yeah. Overall, this looks fine, I would say. Nice. Okay, let's maybe check a little bit about the project structure. So in the root file, we have .env, which is fine. We have gitignore, index.html. Okay, this looks a little bit odd. Maybe we will check this later. We have package.json, readme, and with config. If we check with config, it is very small config. Only thing that we defined is actually alias. It would be maybe nice to define proxy, since we are connecting to backend API directly. So we are not using like backend locally. So it would be nice to set a proxy to resolve some of the potential issues like cores or stuff like that. Makes sense, yeah. Okay, if we look at the source structure, we have, okay, this is, I would say, when you start with project, this is mostly what you get, and it looks fine. When building components, you want to have like a components folder, pages folder, and layouts. Sometimes these pages are called views, or depending on how much the project is scaling, you can have end pages and views. If you check assets, these are the files that are basically static assets, and now we are seeing only images. Maybe the CSS file would be also nice to be placed in this folder. Okay, we have configuration. If you check in here, this is configuration for HTTP client. And if we check where are the mapping endpoints, so they are containing services. Maybe it would be better if this is in same folder, and basically we can refactor this part to see what is maybe the better approach. And yeah, we have the store file, store module file. We have some utils. Of course, we have app.vue and main.js. Overall, for this project of this scale, the structure looks fine, I would say.
Nice. I have a question, just a little question.
Yes.
I see that Vite is used in this project. And what's your experience with Vite compared to, let's say, the, I don't know, traditional Webpack? And do you recommend it over Webpack or, yeah?
Yeah, I would say like these tools are continuously progressing. So back in the day, I used Grand.js or Gulp. Then we switched to Webpack. Now we are using Vite, which is much faster. And since the team that's developing Vite is also developing Vue.js, I would say I prefer it much more rather than Webpack. And yeah, it is basically the powerful tool.
Nice. As I saw, it's a little bit easier to use actually for beginners than Webpack. Like Webpack is a little bit more complicated, if I am correct. Yeah.
I would say so, but also maybe Webpack has much more configuration, depending on what do you want to achieve. But you can also achieve pretty much anything with Vite. So yeah, I prefer it much more.
Nice. Okay.
Also, what I wanted to mention, like I noticed that this project is not using ESLint. I would say this tool is a must. So basically, you want to link your code to, especially if multiple developers are working on the project. So yeah, it would be nice to have ESLint as a library in this project.
Do you recommend a specific configuration for ESLint?
Yes, I mean, basically, when you start your project from zero, like if you are using Vite boilerplate, it will ask you for some ESLint configuration. The most common is like Airbnb, but I use it. But on top of that, I change some properties. It's basically some properties that I don't like or I do like, I will include or exclude them.
Okay, understand.
Also, I wanted to mention, like, if you are working in a team, that should be a team decision.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the second thing that I would probably add to the project is like editor config. And this file, I mean, we can actually edit. Okay, maybe we can try to find some. Okay, we will just copy this code and paste it here. In order for this to work, you need to have a plugin, and plugin is called editor config for VS Code. And basically, you can see all the plugins that I use. I use ESLint, editor config, GitLens, and view-oriented plugins. What this plugin does is basically every time when you create a new file, it will set up a config for that file. So basically, if you are using spaces as indent style, and how much spaces, what is end of the line? Is it line feed or cache return line feed? So basically, I would say this will help to improve the health of the project.
Yeah. Nice. Makes sense.
Also, the other thing that I wanted to mention, like if you can see, we have only CSS. There is no some CSS preprocessor. which is very odd. But yeah, since this is a student project, I will say this is fine.
Okay. Also, it's a JavaScript project, or it's a JavaScript, not TypeScript is not used in this project.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It is very unusual to see .js files, since I used to see .ts files. Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, these days I think it's really like TypeScript is a must, or like if we are building production-ready apps, or
I would say yes. I mean, if you are working on something that you will develop 1 week, then maybe you need to worry about TypeScript. But yeah, if you are working on any scale project, then TypeScript is a must, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, what I wanted to mention is with ESLint, you can set up auto formatting, which is basically adding a settings file for VS Code. And every time when you save the file, it will format it according to configuration, according to ESLint configuration, which speeds you up a lot.
Yeah, this is a nice feature, yeah.
Okay, next that we can mention is, okay, maybe we can check a little bit the code. I also forgot to mention that mostly in most of the projects that I'm working on, I use file called .nvmrc, which you basically define version of Node.js that you are using. I think the current LTS is 18.18. And okay, I made a typo.
NVMRC, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what this does is, if you are working on multiple projects that are using different version of Node.js, you can easily switch to different version using a library called Node Version Manager. And if you have NVMRC file in your project, you can basically, when you go to the project, just type in nvm use and it will read this file and it will switch the version, which is very nice feature. Yeah.
This is really nice feature, yeah. Good.
And also, it gives you information of which version is recommended. Also, it would be nice that this information is contained in README, but yeah, it is what it is.
Okay. This is a nice feature with the NVMRC.
Yeah. Maybe we can start by looking a little bit in the code, and we can start maybe from the easy part, and that is CSS. And since we have only one single file, we can check it. And yeah, this is basically the only CSS file in the whole project. And as we can see, there is not too much structure. Usually when you are working in project, let's say any scale, small, medium, large, you can make some, you should use some CSS preprocessor, and you should also organize your CSS a little bit. So the most common thing that you are using, like if you are using assets folder for static assets, you can, in this case, we can call it CSS. And here you can have different structure. Usually you can have abstract modules, base, components, layout, pages, vendors. And yeah, you would put, let's say, for example, abstract would contain mixins and variables, CSS or SCSS. In the base, you would probably place some typography or reset CSS, something like here. This is also what I do. Also, what I do is
okay, yeah.
So yeah, basically you have these CSS pseudo elements, and you would also want to reset positioning on them.
Yeah.
And yeah, also basically, as you can see in here, we are overriding some sweet alert CSS, and it would be nice that this is contained in the CSS vendor folder. So you can easily find it in your project.
Yeah, it's a nice structure.
if we look closely in here about some CSS properties, we can see like we are using important for some reason. I'm not sure which reason, because the HTML element is basically a root element, so there is no reason to use important on the root element. And also, since body is, let's say, the first element, it should inherit the font family. So basically, if you did define it on the top, you don't need to define it on the body. And definitely you don't need it's important. I would say also for the scroll behavior, you don't need it.
Yeah. Usually all the like font related properties are inherited, as I remember.
Yes, exactly. Also, we did see some strange, if we check index.html. So we can see that this CSS is directly imported, and also the fonts, Google Fonts, which is very strange. I think this is not the best way to do it. So maybe, okay, the one of the problems, I mean, we can check is if it will actually combine CSS as it should, because what is important about CSS, when you build a project, you should minify CSS. So you get the application that is most performant, and you want also all the files to be as small as possible. So like, I'm not sure if when we build this project, I mean, we can check what will happen if it will handle this scenario. I'm not 100% sure, but it's easy to check it. So we have this folder, we have index.html, and if we check, okay, the Google fonts are here, and for the CSS we have only this one. And if we check this file, so it's this one. Yeah, we have also import to Google Fonts, and we have it's minified. So luckily for us, we did handle this pretty well. But still, I think there's a better scenario where, let's say, we can move this on the assets.css, and then we can just import it in the import. Which means that we can get rid of this part here. So if we do again npm run build, we can see what will happen. Okay, we check index.html. Okay, this one is commented. We should probably remove it. But if we check the CSS, yeah, it is there. So probably the better approach would be just to include it in main.js.
Okay, I see.
Or even if you prefer, you can include it in here, but not as a scoped CSS, but as a global CSS. But this is also fine, because if we check the suite alert, it is also including CSS in the same way.
Yeah, so basically the main.js is like the main entry point of everything, and you basically say that we should put everything there. Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Exactly. And since we are in the main.js, okay, so we can see that there is, this file should be very simple, because it's an entrance in our application, and it should usually use some plugins and configuration for our application. And as we can see, we are including our font awesome in here, and it would be much better if we move this one to a different place. So maybe we can refactor this one just to see how it would look like.
Yeah, why not?
Let's try. I would usually define plugins folder, and we can call it font awesome icons, and we will split just to see what's happening. So what we want is to move this out of Vue.js. Okay, actually font awesome icon needs to be part of here, and library should be moved in here. Okay. Okay, this looks fine. Let's put just some spacing. And how to import this file? You can just type it like here. Import and let's check if project is working still. So the icons are there. We can verify. If we comment this part out, you can see that icons are missing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And now it's much cleaner.
Yeah, and as you can see, this file is much cleaner now. Yeah. Okay, if we check our application instance, we can see all plugins that we are using. We are using router for routing, Suite Alert, Pinia for central store, and we are also defining global component for using font awesome icons. Okay, so if we check the store, especially this file, store.js, we can see that is basically only instance of the Pinia, which is strange because it doesn't do anything. It would be maybe better just to do it like this. I mean, in this case, so basically you don't need this file at all. You can remove it. And now this file looks much cleaner than before. Also, if you check the other file in the store, since this folder is already called store, maybe it's unnecessary to call the files modules inside it user store. Maybe user is fine. If you check the store, it's a very small store. We have only username and admin. But I would say this is probably fine for this application. I mean, we will check in the other files how components are structured. Okay, so let's just verify that everything is working as before. This is the application. If we do hard reload, okay, we can see a blank page, and it says create Pinia is not defined. So basically, while we did refactoring, we forgot to include this part. Now let's check if it's working. Yeah, it works just fine.
Nice.
Okay, so from here, maybe we talked a little bit about the configurations and services. And yeah, maybe we can check these files. So maybe if we check the services, we can see that this is only mapping to endpoints, which is also a fine approach. If you check configurations, okay, this is the place where we create HTTP client instance, and we have also some interceptors. I would say that this file should be also a little bit cleaner. Maybe we can try to refactor it to look better.
Okay.
So what would I do is I would create, let's call it API folder, and in root of the API folder, I would create index.js file. So let's copy everything from here to index.js file. Okay, so since this part in here, middleware or interceptors, we could have a lot of more logic in here. So what we want to use is we want to maybe create a different folder and place all this logic in there. We will use one for request, one for response. Okay. So for the request one, let's just export two functions. It will use config. And what it does is basically we can copy everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is if some error happens on request. So what we will do is just return promise, reject error. So nothing will happen.
Okay.
Okay. The other file is for response, and we will basically use same syntax. We will call this one on response. Yes. And we can call the other one on response error.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically, as you can see, since we will use same code, this is as async function.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just copy this code. Okay. Okay. It looks fine. So one thing that we can improve here is like, I don't know if you ever heard a term called guard clause. So what happens here is that we are checking if for1 means if user is authenticated or not. So if status is for1, it means that user is not authenticated, and we will do some logic. What we can do is we can, in the first place, check if user is authenticated. So if this one is not 401, we will just return error. And basically, we can remove this part of the code. Sorry. Okay, I mean, we can use, let's say, one-liners here, so this looks much better, and even with this approach. What's also strange, yeah?
A question, just this on the line 6, like if and there is like.
Sorry, you should.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You mentioned guard clause. It's called the technique,
Yes.
or so. Can you tell us a little bit more about like the approach?
Yes. So basically, I use guard clause a lot. What it does is actually it helps you to better read the function. So sometimes a function can have like 20, 30, 50 lines of the code, and you want to check some condition that will return before the rest of the code happens. So let's say, for example, you want to check if user is authenticated or not. So if user is authenticated, it will return, and you don't need to read the rest of the function. So basically, it saves you the time. If you don't do the guard clause, then you need to scroll down to see what happens in the rest of the function. So basically, this helps you a little bit and saves you the time. Okay, I have typo in here.
And it basically like prevents like unnecessary like how to say indenting if statements, or like one if inside another.
Yes,
okay.
yes, exactly. Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
It helps you with reading the code and save you the time, because sometimes you want to see just one condition, and if that condition is resolved immediately, then you don't need to read the rest of your function.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, now since we did make these files, we can basically import them in here. So what we want is to import on request and on request error, and same for the response. What did we call on response success? Okay, and now we can basically refactor this part before request. Same goes for here.
Yeah, this looks much cleaner.
Yes, and basically if you want to add new functionality to middleware or interceptors, you wouldn't touch this file at all. And this file looks very clean.
Yeah.
I did spot some problem in here. So basically we are using .env file and we are defining endpoint that we are connecting to. And this endpoint is used in our instance. But in our response interceptor, we are not using that instance, but we are using axios.post, which means that we are using basically localhost. I think this is a mistake. This should be an instance that we created, but yeah, we don't need to worry about that now.
Okay.
And also the other thing I wanted to mention is like these services. We can place them in here, and I can also explain why did we call this index.js. Let's close everything. So basically, if we check this service, it's only mapping to endpoints, and we are importing the API config. So we want to import API config now from the, or we can call it API from at API. So basically, if you call your file index.js, you don't need to specify the name file after the folder. Yeah. So it looks a little bit cleaner. And now instead of API config, you can use API. Okay, nice. But we won't include this file in refactoring process because we now need to change every place that we are using this service. So we will just leave it like here.
Okay. Can you just go back to the intercept to the index.js in the API?
Yes.
Okay. Just one question. You see this comment add interceptor to add bearer token on every request. Is it okay? Is this comment necessary here? I am usually when I write code, I sometimes I find myself to write many comments that maybe aren't really necessary, for I don't know, for other people to explain it. But is there a better approach for handling this stuff, especially when it's simple code? I see okay, we have request and response.
So basically, when I started the coding, I thought the comments should be everywhere. Okay. But the problem with the comments is it takes you time, because if you read this code, you will see the comment, and it takes your time to read this comment. And the other thing is I think in probably most cases, the comments are unnecessary, especially if you are coding in a clean approach. And if you're not, you should. Yeah, so basically better naming variables, function names, and stuff like that. You don't need actually to write a comment, especially if we see this is okay interceptor. We don't need to write comment in here. Maybe if we go to interceptor and there is some logic that probably needs some explanation, you can leave a comment. But if it's self-explanatory, then you are better without the comment.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Also, there is a book called Clean Code. I think it's from Robert C. Martin. Someone would say that it is outdated, but still, I think there is a lot of stuff that you can learn from that book.
Is it like I heard about it book? To be honest, I haven't written it until now, but I plan on. Is it like a programming language specific, or is it like across platform like book for like every language?
Yeah, I would say it's probably not for the beginners. I think it's using Java, if I remember correctly, with code examples. But still, the rules that you can see are applied to most of the programming languages.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so the next thing that we want to check is the router. We have only 3 files, which is fine: navigation guard, router, and routes. So the router is basically the basic config for our router instance. And if we check our routes, okay, we have some authentication routes, and let's call it home page routes. So, and as we can see, we have 2 layouts, as we mentioned before. We have main layout and blank layout. Blank layout is basically a simple router view, and main layout has the navbar on the top, and the rest is router view. And yeah, so basically, okay, so in the routes, in the home routes, we can see all the routes that we checked, except this one. So for some reason, we cannot go to this route over the UI. At least I didn't find it, but we can try maybe like this. Yeah, there is also this page, but it is very strange that is available, because I think you should be logged in to see this page.
Okay.
Okay, so looking at this structure, it looks fine. But maybe the better approach for layouts is like you can keep this information in the meta of the every route. I think it's much more flexible. You can say, let's say like this, layout, and as a value, you can basically have the layout as a value. So you can, let's check layouts. So we have blank. Layouts. Okay. And you can also define it in here. I mean, this layout is using main layout, so let's go like. And in order for this to work, you need actually to write a little bit logic, defining on depending on where you define these layouts or where do you use them. It's usually app.view, but yeah. Also, the other thing is like we are using navigation guards, and this is also a fine approach, but maybe better approach would be if we check like, okay, so basically you can have additional information in meta. Like, let's say, for example, you can define per route if it requires authentication. So, for example, and basically you can check this field when every time that some route changes. So basically, how to do that? Okay, so basically we have another approach in here, which we can do in route.js, and we can basically also check maybe how it looks like. So yeah, on the router instance, you can use before each, and practically we can check something like this. Sorry, something like this. Okay, so basically every time when routing happens, you can know where your user is going to, and basically you can check if that route requires authentication. So basically you can say if to dot meta. So if a route requires authentication, and if user is not authenticated, then we need to prevent him to go to the route that he wants to go, and we need to redirect him to the login page. This is just for example. Yeah, this won't work in this case, but we could make it work.
Okay.
We will just leave this as a comment. Okay, so let's check a little bit how components look like.
Okay.
First component we can check, maybe this is the app button. It is unusual name. I assume this is a global button that is shared across components. Probably what I would use is I would create shared folder, and inside this folder you can have like components, modals and stuff like that, also per folder level. But yeah, let's say for now, since this is very small application, this should do. Okay, if we check the props that component accepts, we have props like white, transparent, logout, view, white square. This is very unusual, because if you want to add another button, it is very strange. You want like do it red and boolean. I think this is definitely not the way how you should do it. You can usually you have few types of the button, and you can have property called type, and since we are using JavaScript, we need to define the string, and this type can be, let's say, primary, secondary, and stuff like that. And if you want to be squared, you can also use like square as a boolean, or maybe you can call this property variant, which is also string. And now it could be square, circle, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It would simplify all the props that you want to pass to the component. And also it will simplify component a lot, because yeah, you don't need to write all of these CSS classes.
Yeah, it gets messy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe we can also check the place where we use a button. Okay, so this is the one place. Okay, as you can see, we have a property called label, and maybe the better approach is, since how do you usually use HTML button? It's like button, and you write label inside it, right? So I would probably use same approach for components that use this syntax. This is not a bad approach. It is just personal preference, and in order to use it like that, we can define a slot. So we don't need to place a name. This is default slot, and like for example, this component would look like this case, and like we can get rid of the label. Also, you can use both approach. You can have label and slot, and but you would need to define some logic to what gets higher priority.
Yeah.
Or you can, I think you can also wrap this label inside slot. So basically, if you pass a slot, it will render it, and if you define the label, it will also render it. So
yeah, I think I'm not sure about Utify, but I think the Quasar framework actually does it in that way, that you can like use it as a slot or as a prop with label, and it's basically on the developer to decide which they prefer, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's good to have both options, and you can decide what you actually prefer.
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, we can see a lot of CSS in here. We already talked about defining some CSS structure, and probably it would be nice if we like place this in some of those files. Like you could have a components folder in CSS structure, and one of the components is a button, and you can basically place all this CSS in that part. Okay, so we can maybe check next component. Next component is contact model. And if we check this model, okay, the first thing that I spot is like this props is in the middle of script setup. I think since this is entrance in our component, it should be placed like almost on the top, just below these imports. Also, like we don't need to indent this code, like this is much more readable now. Okay, so yes, we also have ref, or I don't know, like what do you prefer, but you can also use reactive.
Yep.
Okay, if we check the template part, we can see that most of the time we are using this syntax: label, input, label, input. At the beginning, we talked about element plus, and basically you could use component from element plus in here, where you can also define a label and input as one component. But if you want to do it yourself, maybe the better approach is to make shared component where you can define label and also input. And also what is the input type, like is it a string, password, email, or stuff like that. Okay, now we can see that also here we don't have validation. Maybe we'll check some other component that uses validation just to see how it's done. Okay. Maybe we can go to sign up form just to check if there is validation. Yeah, we can see like the validation is done manually, and this can be very painful. I mean, depending on if your application has only a few forms, you could probably do it this way, but it's not the best way. Probably the better way would be to use some, let's say, library. The one that I was using is called Vue.js, or maybe a little bit advanced, Validate with Yap. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do it manually, it's possible. But still, it would be best if you can export this to shared component, and you have logic in one place. I mean, you can also define some basic rules, or you can pass rules as a property. So you don't have too much logic inside your shared component.
Yeah, makes sense. Form validation is one of those things that we can make like entire 2-hour video just about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like a pretty advanced stuff, so to say.
Okay, so we also talked a little bit about models, and yeah, maybe if we check another component that uses like modal syntax, we can see that these classes are basically repeating. So the better approach in here would be just to make a modal component and put basic logic in it. Let's say state when you open the model, when you close the model, and yeah, these classes would be defined only once. But let's say for some reason you want to do it this way, it would be better not to repeat this syntax, because if you want to change, let's say, background and anything, you need to do it in every component that uses this class. So one of the ways that you can do it is create global CSS. Let's, for simplicity, just use it like this. We will just copy this code. We won't do anything special. We will use background color. We'll set red, just to see if there will be any difference. And now to use this CSS, we can just import it in main.js. Okay, so let's check if there is any difference. Yeah, as you can see, now that CSS class is globally available. So basically you don't need to repeat it in every component. And just to see that it works, I will comment this part. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But still, using repeating. Okay, we are using probably Sweet Alert for modal logic, but still you can create share component and have this only defined once. So it's much better approach.
Yeah. And basically the principle dry or don't repeat yourself. Yeah, like it's
exactly.
the main sentence in software development.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, maybe what we can check else is I saw the component called image gallery, and yeah, we won't check what all of this codes does, but we have two functions. One is download image, and one is open full screen. So basically, this part could be written as a composable or utility function, and it would be much better because the image gallery then would have much smaller code base, and also like your code would be much more modular.
Yeah.
Which is easier to maintain. Yeah.
Makes sense, because it's actually, this functionality is just basically like to download a specific asset or resource to your computers. Yeah, okay.
Exactly, and especially if you use it in multiple places, you should definitely make it as utility function.
It will be troublesome to just repeat these 5 lines all the time in every place that you need to download a file. Yeah, okay.
Okay, there is one more thing that we can check. It's in the component houses page, I think. Yeah, this is the right component. And as we can see, like for example, we have some functions to get information from backend. Okay, you can write this logic in here. You can write this logic in maybe some composable that is related to this page or component, or you can even write it inside store. I think like if you have complex logic, it's maybe better to, or you need to map your data, it's better to do it in store because your component would look much cleaner. The other thing is like, if you can see, okay, we define a function, we call it. We define a function, we call it. It's not the most clean approach because now I need like to scroll everywhere else to see when something is calling. One of the approaches is like you have on mounted hook, and basically you can on mounted like all of these functions. Or if you want to do it yourself, like you can define init function, and basically, use same logic in here. We'll comment this one. And what we want to do is also to call this function at the end of the script file, or even you could do it on mounted hook.
Okay. Makes sense. And then you have like, if you just need like, what do I need to start this page or this component, I can find it all in one place, and yeah.
Exactly. I mean, not only for the other developers, but also for yourself, because when you next time when you go to this component, especially a component that has like 500 lines, you don't need to scroll around. Like you have most important things right away.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, sadly, we don't have any more time for the review, but we have some questions from Matteo, and yeah, do you like to answer them?
Let's see what we can do.
Okay, so the first question is like a specific question for the project. He asks like, in the main layout, there is a component, the navbar, to which the class navbar scrolled is applied if the condition is met and it works. I just want to know how to make the value of the variable scrolled always be true when I'm on the advertise house page.
Okay, so let's first verify that this part works, since we did some changes. Let's see if it break anything. Okay, it looks like it works at least at this page. Okay, so let's see. It was main layout, and it is a class called number scroll that is conditionally met. And if page is scrolled, okay, so this one is deprecated, but I think like okay, this should also work. So what happens if you're in home page? Like if you scroll, you can see that you get this blue background on the header, and now it's transparent, right?
Yeah.
And the question was called like, if you go to advertise page, let's see just what it is. What's the route name?
Like advertise, yeah, advertise.
Okay. So if we go in there, so in here, he wants it always to be on. So not only when scroll, but also in the initial state.
Yeah.
Okay. If we check the code for this part, so basically we define the state, scroll state, and we have on-mounted and on-unmounted hook, which we add or remove listeners. So when user scrolls, it will set the states to true or false. So basically this state will be true only when epsilon offset is greater than 0. So how we make it to be always true on that page? We can create a compute property. Let's say we will call it is now scroll it. Okay. So in this case, we want to check like is route name advertise house page. So in order to use that, we'll use our router and we will check if route name, if route.name equals, so in this case this will be true, and also we want to check if value, what is the value of this state. And now we can use this one here. Let's verify that this one works. Okay, so for this page it works, and if you go to home page, it works same as before. So I would say
nice.
This is one of the ways you can do it.
Yeah, and it's actually a quick fix, so to say. Yeah, just few lines of code. Nice. And the other question is basically like, how can I improve the structure of the whole project? Which I think like we answered like in this whole video, or?
Yes, exactly. I mean, the point was to see from the code quality and project structure, how can we improve things on this project? Because like if we took some specific, like let's say for example, a form validation, I think it would take us 2 hours to only talk about that problem.
Yeah.
So I think we already talked on the ways how to improve this project. Certainly, if your project is much larger scale, there are more things to talk about, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think for now, this should be good.
Yeah, and in the future, actually, we plan to also these code reviews will be so to say, we can review some feature of an application. Yeah, so for example, it's a big application and we review just the form validation and really do it in the right way to how to approach really form validation. But this is the concept of this review is basically just that junior developers see how to structure a project from the ground up, from the README file to everything else. Now that we are on the end of this review, I have some blitz questions for you. So the first one is coffee or tea?
Tea.
Windows or Linux?
Linux.
Okay, Vue versus React?
Vue, of course.
And Quasar versus Utify?
I would say Quasar. Yeah.
Okay, nice, thank you. And the last question for you is from me, but to all the junior developers out there. It gets I don't know. In last time, when you go to sites for jobs in IT companies, it's it gets to the point where you only see jobs for senior developers, and I can imagine that for junior developers it gets really frustrated, because how can I get a job when I don't have experience? But how can I get the experience if I So what's your advice to the junior developers, how to get their first job, how to land a first job?
Yeah, so I mean, basically you are working on the platform to help those junior developers to start progressing to senior developers. But yeah, it's really hard question because you have so much variables. I would say if you are a junior developer, you need to have you need to be passionate about what you are actually doing, and you need to have actually the drive to do it. And the first best thing is if you have a mentor. You don't need to be employed to have a mentor. There are the other ways. And the second best thing is to read the books. And of course, you need also spend time decoding. I would say that is the way.
Okay, that's it. Josip, thank you really much for the review. I really appreciate it. It was really an honor to work with you on this review, and especially it was an honor that you are the first reviewer on this platform. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah.
Thank you also, and I'm looking forward to see more of your videos.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.